How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO Build video. Today is Sting. Yes, he's back. He hasn't had an update for quite some time now, but the Little Stamina Nightblade that could is back and stronger than ever, taking advantage of some of the new stuff in Update 44. So if you want to see more of this, stay tuned. It's coming right up. So this character has been around for a very, very long time. Initially, it was designed to take advantage of a very static rotation type, which didn't even exist back then, actually. And it was to help people understand the Nightblade, making it easier for them to use. Well, this just got even easier. If you have Gold Road, you can take advantage of one of the new updated skills that has come into the Elder Scrolls Online via Update 44. If not, don't worry, there's going to be some options for that on the website, and the link will be down below. So first of all, of course, we're going to get into the stats. As you can see, I've got a shiny banner and, of course, a potion pop. We'll go over that in a bit. The recovery is going to look relatively low because of the banner, but I'll explain how that all works later because we will have really good resource management. 19.1 and 17.6k resistances have gone to their first because they're about to fall off. And we've got 13k magicka, 25k max health, and 31k max stamina. Weapon damage is sitting on 5.3, almost 5.4, but that will actually escalate to about 8k. And then we've also got weapon crit of 62.6, which will go up to 68.6. Again, the pen is something that will fluctuate depending on whether you're behind the target or not, because obviously we've got 5552 now, but we will have 2.5 if we are not behind the target. I'm currently flanking something from a distance, so that's why it's showing differently. So always put yourself in a flanking position if you can. You've got higher pen. Recovery as it stands is fairly decent, but our resource return is huge based on the way that we're set up. That will make more sense when we get to the skills and the gear. 64 points into max stamina, and the Thief from Understone with flat max health, max stamina food. I know there it shows 0, but the food is 5.3k max health and 4.9k max stamina. So, now we're going to get into the skills. I'm going to explain these in fairly loose detail, because if you don't understand this, we do have a class guide on the channel, and there's a couple of extra videos to support that as well with current changes to Update 44. And Update 43, actually, because there's a couple there too. But stay with me, this is all going to make sense as we go. So, first of all, this is a new skill for Update 44, and you need Gold Road for scribing in order to make it. This is the new Sundering Banner. Now, obviously, it's got lots of different names depending on how you build it up, but the way that they've built this is to give us increased martial damage done. So this affects you and nearby group members. Reduction to health, magicka, and stamina recovery, that's just for you. And of course, resource return. So we restore 400 magicka and stamina if your target was above 50% health when you hit them. But you increase your critical chance by 10% for 5 seconds if your target was below 50% health. So basically, if you are standing next to an enemy and fighting them, if you're in combat, you'll get resource management. And if you are low health, you will get increased crit chance. So we'll go up to 78%, which is insane. All the time that the banner is there, as long as we're in combat, you will get minor heroism. So ulti regen for days. That is going to make a big difference because we are going to be spamming our ulti all day long to keep up our bonuses to damage. Now, the way to make this particular skill, also we double bar it, by the way, because if you bar swap without it being double barred, you will lose it. But if you go over to the scribing altar, yes, there's a place for this on the map, by the way. If you don't have the altar for your house, you go here, and then hit this way shrine here. If you haven't done that quest, there's a scribing guide on the channel, and I'll put it in the description below. So, we are taking advantage of the new banner in the Alliance War skill line for support. We're using physical damage to increase martial damage done, so poison, disease, bleed, and physical. Class mastery, so we get resources back or have higher crit chance, alongside minor heroism. This will affect your recovery bonuses. Obviously, as you can see, we've got a 33% reduction, but we've got 400 magicka and stamina back if the target is high health, and we've got other ways to gain resources as well, so our return for stamina is actually completely covered, and of course, you can heavy attack occasionally if you really need to. Anyway, that's the banner. Keep that active at all times. People within 8-meter radius of you will benefit from these buffs. Barb Trap, Fighters Guild skill line. Put this on the ground, it will pop underneath the target, and it will apply minor force to you, increasing all of your crit damage by 10%. And when it pops, it will actually put a bleed on the target, as well as an impact bleed to start with when it pops, but a 20-second duration, and it can have a very high chance at applying hemorrhage, and the initial hit will guarantee apply hemorrhage anyway. So it's pretty damn strong at keeping up a really good status effect and having a single target damage over time and giving you a buff. So if you are low health and you're getting a high crit bonus, this will contribute to this quite a lot. But we've got a high crit bonus anyway, so it's always going to be with us. Make sure this is always running under something. Merciless Resolve. This is in the Assassination skill line. This is the last ability you unlock. Starts off as Grim Focus, morph it to Merciless Resolve. Leave it on your bar on the front. Yes, of course, it doesn't matter which bar you fire it on, but because it will actually give you the buff on both bars now. But we want the passives over here. So this is just left there until it glows, and then you can fire it. Basically, you light attack or heavy attack. Every light attack will give you 1 stack. Every heavy attack will give you 2. If you get to 5 stacks, you will have the maximum amount of increased weapon and spell damage. So in this case, 300. And when you fire it, it will do high damage and will heal you for damage done. 50% of the damage done, in fact, including healing received and healing done bonuses. But you have to be in melee range in order for this to give you the heal. So if you're at long range, 28 meters, you can fire it. But if you're within 7 meters, you will heal. The trick to this is to basically stack them up, fire, stack them up, fire. If you're not very good at it and you don't feel comfortable, then just leave it and save it for an emergency heal. In the meantime, you need a spammable. Surprise attack has been moved to the assassination skill line. If you haven't seen this already, this has moved. It used to be in here, in the shadow skill line, because it used to give you a resistance bonus from passives just for firing damage. They didn't think that was fair, so they made things line up more. So killy stuff belongs in here, and shadowy stuff belongs in there, which makes sense. Anyway, this has a 7 meter range. It's melee based, so obviously if you can reach with this, you can reach with a heal for the bow. But light attack, spam the hell out of it. Light hit, light hit, light hit. Every time you hit with this, you guarantee a sundered status effect, which gives you weapon damage and spell damage of 100. And it also applies the actual sunder effect, which is damage and breach to the target. Minor breach on the target as long as you kind of maintain it. So it actually lasts 4 seconds, but if you light attack, hit, you've got infinite minor breach on target and extra damage for you. Also, bear in mind, if you strike an enemy from their flank, which you should be doing, you will set them off balance, which means your heavy attacks will do more damage and give you back more resources. And of course, this attack is guaranteed to critically strike at least once every 3 seconds. So every 1 second, you can fire and fire and fire and fire. 1 out of 3 will crit. But we've got really high crit chance anyway, so it's going to crit a lot more often than that. Now, once the enemy goes low health, you want to be spamming this instead of this. This is your execute. Same skill line called Killer's Blade. These have all got purple adjustments now, by the way. This is the stamina variant. This is 7 meter range, does disease damage, and this is your spammable at low health. Now, this is different to the other one. The other morph is long range, and you can only start doing damage under 25% for it to escalate. This can go up to 400% extra damage rather than stuck at 300% throughout, but you can start firing it earlier. It says you can fire it from 50% and under, but don't do that. 50% is kind of where it starts ramping up. If the enemy is 40% or lower, that's when you want to start using this because that's when it will start outscaling your spammable. Prior to that, it's not going to be as impactful. So basically, for 60% of the fight, you keep up your rotation using surprise attack as a spammable, and for 40% of the fight, you use this. This will get dramatic, and depending on the buffs and bonuses in your group, this can bring out some scary numbers. Bear in mind also, this heals you if an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being struck by it. So if you're in a big room full of ads, Nightblades are really good at executing. It's kind of your job to get rid of stuff. So instead of wailing into one target with loads and loads and loads and loads of smashes, if you see something going down quickly, finish it. If you do so, you'll get a heal as well. Also, you'll get ultimate, but we'll worry about that in a moment. So your main ultimate on the front bar is just for stats. There is a benefit to having this on the bar. We'll go over the passives later, but this is in the Fighters Guild skill line. You want Flawless Dawnbreaker. Yes, of course, in some situations you could fire this, take advantage of weapon and spell damage, but to be fair, the back bar ultimate is actually more beneficial to us, so I wouldn't recommend it. Unless, of course, you deliberately want to stun something and dot all the enemies in front of you, which again is rare. Banner on both bars. Remember, we have to double bar it, otherwise when we swap, we will lose it. But on the back bar, we've got Poison Injection from the bow skill line. This is your execute dot, if you like. Basically, you fire at the target and just leave it. As long as this is running, you'll benefit from one of the sets we're using, and you'll benefit from one of the other sets we're using as long as you're using that one. That will make more sense when we get to the gear. While this is running, it will do damage over time, and damage initially, of course, but the longer the fight goes on, the lower the health goes down to the enemy, the more damage this does. It ramps up, and this kicks in at under 50%. Much like your Killer's Blade, this is going to start ramping up aggressively under 40, but it starts at 50. The other skill on the line from the bow skill line, we're going to do this here because we're already here, is Endless Hail. Leave this on the ground at all times. It lasts 15 seconds with a 2-second wind up, and it does damage in area of effect every second. It is incredibly powerful. Don't leave home without it. This will also fire your back bar glyph on cooldown, so you can basically keep up your Berserker glyph at all times. If this isn't on the ground, you're doing something wrong. Now, to go backwards a little bit, also this has got a new color as well. You can make it go all watery, which is mega. Darkshade. This is your pet, and he cannot be attacked. So if you go to your Shadow skill line, last ability to unlock starts off as Summon Shade, morph it to Dark Shade. You summon this for 22 seconds, and it will do damage to enemies near you. It does area of effect damage as well. It's magic damage every 2 seconds and applies minor maim. It's actually pretty solid. Really good damage output, and really easy to maintain with it costing a low amount of magicka and having a high uptime. So basically don't leave home without this skill. It double dips into passives as well, so we've got a damage skill that applies a resistance buff to us. So that's an easy way to maintain major resolve if you don't already have another way to do so. That will make more sense in the passives. Siphoning attacks is from the Siphoning skill line, and this is bonkers. Basically, leave it there. Don't touch it. While it's on your bar, while you're in combat, every second that you do damage, you will heal and get back 200 magicka and 200 stamina. Every single second. This is basically your crit surge for the sorcerer that you don't have to activate. Wondering if in time they'll actually allow that to be a slottable rather than a castable active. That would be cool. Anyway, if you do activate this, this will give you back 2,600 magicka and stamina. So your resources are covered here. But it will cost you health. So as long as you're actively doing damage and you're actively playing your role in combat, and maybe if you've got a heal or whatever, as long as you cast this when you're not too low, you can actually dip a little bit in health, get it back from a couple of light attacks here and there, and then you're good to go. And you'll refill your bar basically for nothing. Although it costs health, your major resources are not being affected. In fact, they're being filled. This is mad. Very good change to the Nightblade. But a couple of patches ago, don't leave home without it. Put it on your back bar. It works for either bar, so it stays with us all the time. Now, Soul Harvest is altered over time. This is also in the Assassination skill line. Yes, of course, you could put this on your front bar, but then you wouldn't take advantage of the Fighter's Guild passive. Instead, you just have a little bit more crit. So this is on the back bar on purpose. When you activate this to the target, you will do 20% more damage to them. Now, this is the main one we're going to use all the time. It's incredibly powerful and really, really cheap. It applies Major Defile, which reduces their healing received and damage shield strength. So in some PvE scenarios, that's actually quite helpful, especially getting damage shields down because a big chunk taken off. But while slotted on either bar, you get ultimate for killing stuff. So if you're on the front bar right now, this didn't used to be the case. You used to have to slot it on the front bar. But if you're on the front bar, anything that you kill will give you 10 ultimate back. And if you're paying attention to the Fighters Guild passives, anything that you kill for having a Fighters Guild skill on your bar will give you 3 ultimate. So technically speaking, every single kill, we get 13 back. And it only costs 70, so that's pretty mad. Kill stuff really quickly, get a heal from it, get ultimate from it, reuse your ultimate again on the next target. It's a case of splat one target really quickly, get the resources from it, splat the next one, over and over and over and over. The Nightblade is designed for quick kills, and people usually mistake this for jump in, kill everything really fast from 100% onwards. Like jump in, big burst, must be dead. Not in PvE. In PvE, it's a case of you're the one that can actually cut their throat and finish them. It's capable of consistent high damage, depending on how you build, but you excel at execute. You are the one that offers the killing blow. And if you do, you're rewarded for it. So play fairly active, keep an eye on the health bars, and if there's loads of enemies in the room, the lowest health targets are the weak ones that you need to take advantage of. Get them down quickly. Anyway, okay, now I'm going to go over passives. These are all in the class guide, of course, but they do change over time. So if there's any alterations here, they'd be in some of the update videos. But if you want to go in these into more details, then of course the videos are there for that. Further than that, I'm going to go over these briefly. You want every single one of these passives. This will increase your penetration values while flanking a target, so you hit them harder. This will give you resources back if an enemy recently damaged by you dies, so that covers your resource values as well, which is really nice. Increases your critical chance for each assassination ability on the bar. Back bar's got 1, front bar has got 3. So that's why the difference there. Make sure you're mostly on your front bar. Increases your critical damage done by 10%, but you must have one of these abilities slotted. So, dealing critical damage grants you also minor savagery for you and your group. So, you actually give a bonus to your group as far as weapon crit is concerned, and you basically have it all the time. You do need one of these abilities on your bar. We've got 3 on the front, 1 on the back. We can't fail it. Shadow, of course, increases your recovery bonuses. We are going to want that because we're nuking our recovery by 33% anyway. Casting a Shadow ability gives you major resolve for 12 seconds, and it's increased by 2 seconds for each heavy piece worn. Technically speaking, we're wearing no heavy. If you were to wear 1 or 2 of them, you could get this up to 14 or 16 seconds. It's not really worth it anyway because the skill we're using lasts 22. So if you overlap this skill by accident, don't worry, you just refresh your resistance buff. But for applying this skill, we get major resolve. Now, of course, if you were to use Twist and Paths instead of that, you could have this as a magical damage over time version, or you can have it as the healing version. Either way, if you were to apply this, then of course that would be used more often and then you'd maintain this easier. But again, the choice is yours. You can put either one of these skills on, but I'd recommend the pet as long as you've got sufficient heals in your group, or as long as you're making sure that you can pay attention to when your bow is ready and use it for an emergency heal. It's a very active way to play, but it's up to you. The choice is yours. Increase your maximum health by 3% for having one of these slotted. Got one on the back bar, not on the front. So on the back bar, where you're generally weaker most of the time, although not for us because we're not a tank, or at least you're on your utility bar if you'd like. This is going to give you a bit of a benefit while you're there, but again, we don't have it on the front. So the more abilities on the bar, the better that is. Really good for tanks, not too bad for DPS or healers, but we're going to take the small passive anyway. Increase the duration of your non-invisibility shadow abilities. Again, that affects this and this. That lasts for 22 instead of 20. That lasts for 12 instead of 10. Siphoning, of course, we are taking advantage of this. This was a really good skill in place of the pet, but you didn't get the resistance bonus, so we dumped it. After drinking a potion, you get 20 ultimate. Remember, our ultimate costs 70. And if we kill someone, we get 10, and then another 3 from Fighters Guild. So it doesn't take you any time at all to build that up and reuse it. Jump in, kill stuff that's low with your ultimate, drink a potion, it's dead. Already en route to the next one. Increase your maximum magic by 8% if a siphoning ability is on your bar. We have one on the back, not the front. Increases your healing done, same on the back, not the front. And increases your ultimate regen. So if you use a siphoning ability, you actually get 2 ultimate. It's going to happen once every 4 seconds. Technically, we're not spamming those abilities, but we can use this to get resources back if we need to. So that can help there. Quick tip, by the way. If you are activating Soul Harvest, it has a 0.4 second cast time. So you can't ninja bar swap when you're pressing it. So what you have to do is mess with your global cooldowns a little bit clearer. So instead of standing there doing nothing, when you activate this, fire a light attack, then tap this, and then swap bars. If you do that, you fill the gap, and you can bar swap cancel this skill and benefit from it at the same time. Basically, it will look like this. So imagine that you're using your ultimate right now, light attack that, and then swap. So that will make more sense when we get to the rotation, but that's a bit of a tip there to fill the gap so you don't do nothing. Anyway, that's siphoning done. We are using dual wield on the front and a bow on the back. Dual wield passives, you need all of them. More damage to low health targets, more damage to targets that are CC'd, extra reduction to cost, obviously, for abilities that are from dual wield skill line, although we're not actually using any. You have increased weapon and spell damage to your offhand, because that's the weaker one, and also your weapon type contributes towards your stats. We are taking advantage of 2 daggers, which gives us 2 crit bonuses. Each one will give you 6, 5, 7. It's 219 for 1% crit chance. So we've got 3% per dagger. We've got a 6% crit chance overall. Bow, very simple. Increases your damage done by 5% against enemies that are 15 meters away or closer. Increases your critical chance for enemies that are further. So if you're in mechanics where you have to go long distance, you can, of course, still reach with this build because you've got a bow. Take advantage of it. But you'll benefit from crit chance. If you're close, however, more damage. Increases your critical chance just for having a bow equipped. So when you swap bars, obviously you'd have your crit bonus from your daggers, but you still have a bonus from the bow. Reduces your stamina cost for bow abilities. Dealing damage with a light attack increases your damage done with bow abilities as well, up to 5 times. That will last 5 seconds once you're stacking them. Yes, they carry over to the front bar, but you can't apply them on the front bar. So you basically take advantage of them by weaving on the back bar, firing your skills, that when you swap, you've got a brief period of time where they hit harder. And you get major evasion if you dodge roll. Quite simply, on the bow bar, dodge, run faster. Easy. Light and medium. We're using 2 light and 5 medium. Get every single one of these passives. They are going to benefit you, but above all, these give you recovery and reduction to cost and magic stuff, and also gives you some resistances to your spell resistances, alongside giving you crit chance and penetration bonuses. The medium armor, however, are more active. They give you reduction to cost for dodge roll, reduction to cost for skills. They also give you increased critical damage, weapon and spell damage, reduction to sneak, and of course, you have an increased movement speed with reduction to cost for that as well. Medium armor is very active rather than flat resistances, so you have to dodge for cheaper rather than stand still and just get hit less. So 2 light, 5 medium, job done. You can go 5-1-1 if you prefer and replace 1 light piece with a heavy, but you're going to lose a big pen bonus. It's not really worth it. Again, the choice is yours. Undaunted, of course, if you take synergies, you get resources back, take them. And Undaunted Metal, if you have different types of armor, you get an extra bonus. So we are wearing light and medium, so we get a 4% bonus overall. Again, if you wore heavy, this would be 6%. Great, but it's not going to make a huge difference to the overall performance of the build because while your health is higher, which is your choice, your penetration values and your crit chance is down. The crit chance is only 1%. The pen values is quite a lot. We are an orc. Do you have to be? No, you don't. You can be any race you like, but I've chosen this for very specific reasons. Stamina, nice. Health, also nice. When you deal damage, you heal, also nice again. Yes, that can crit as well. And also, finally, we are fast with high weapon and spell damage. And our sprint is cheaper. So we're very, very nippy. We hit hard, and we've got extra health and healing alongside a combat stat. The health from the 4 seconds worth of being in combat, doing damage and healing can crit, can scale off of healing done and received, and also contributes alongside of the heal we're getting once every second as well. So we can actually survive really, really well just by weighing into the enemy. Not to mention, of course, if you kill them, you get a big heal too. And the bow gives a heal. Basically, keep hitting stuff. Remember, you can be any race you like. You just have different passive bonuses to take advantage of. Medicinal use is very important. If you don't activate your potions, you're not going to take advantage of their buffs. We have major brutality, major savagery, and major endurance on our potions. We're using the weapon crit pots, if you like. Those need to be maintained 100% of the time, otherwise you are going to perform less. Simple as that. They're consumable buffs. You wouldn't let the beast trap run out. Don't let this run out. Now, we're going to get to the gear. This is very similar to that of the one in the past, but obviously the skills do make it feel different. This is now much easier to use, 2 less skills to apply, and a couple of options, obviously, on the website if you want to swap things out for an extra heal or even if you don't have the banner. But I'm going to assume, for the purpose of those watching that want the update with the new stuff, you have the banner. So, I'm going to go into the gear here. We are using 2 different types of choices here versus the one that was already there in the previous video. So, the ones I would go over, and this is your swap out basically, 2 daggers and 3 jewelry, and this whole set can be replaced. So, the most amount of damage you're going to get for this on single target out of the actual setup and its options is using Aegis Caller, 2 daggers, both precise, 1 flame, 1 poison, and then 3 jewelry pieces, all in Bloodthirsty with weapon and spell damage with stam recovery on each. So that is Makdari, Kuta, and Rapora. Weapon and spell damage, weapon crit, weapon and spell damage. When you deal damage with a martial melee attack and it crits, you summon up an air Atronach and it spins and spins and does loads of damage. It's pretty damn strong. And it scales off of weapon and spell damage. Our weapon and spell damage goes up to about 8k anyway. Now, the other options for this set are quite simple. You've got Venomous, which was on the build in the first place. This still performs incredibly well. And it is overland, so you can just buy it off the market if you want to. Dealing critical damage basically puts a poison circle around the target, and anyone standing anywhere near it will take damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, and it says a 15-second cooldown, so 66% uptime. Very, very powerful set. Slightly higher crit as well. There's a no-brainer to use it. It's really, really good. But if you can get Aegis Caller, then of course do so. This can be acquired from normal dungeons. You don't need to do it on vet. And the other option, apart from all these other ones that I've still left in the bags, this actually did really well if you use Weapons Expert, but this here is absolutely ridiculous. Scavenging Demise. This can also be acquired on normal, but basically when you deal critical poison damage, so your poison injection must be on the target. It's the only one that can do it on this build. You will summon a hunger that will swing in front of it, doing poison damage and afflicting the enemy with minor vulnerability for 15 seconds. So that can happen once every 10 seconds, by the way. That looks like it's relatively low. A 15k proc every 10 seconds. No, that can hit very, very hard. I've seen that hit way over 100k. On the target dummy, which is rigged, obviously, with specific buffs and bonuses, it hits 100 to 106k. In content, when you've got other buffs and bonuses present, it can hit very, very hard. Up to 150, sometimes even 200k, on par with that of the Warden Bear Ultimate, if everything lines up. It's an incredible set. So the DPS between the two of these, depending on crits, is very, very similar. But this one was sometimes a little bit higher, maybe by like 1 or 2k, depending on how lucky or unlucky you were. This one has constant spin, 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 bleed, bleed, bleed. If you crit multiple times and miss a couple, it's not too bad. If you miss a couple of this one, then over time, that's going to be more impactful. So if luck is on your side, they're about the same, but this one is fairly consistent regardless. Up to you. These two sets are a very good choice either way, but Scavenge and Demise does have more crit. Just saying. Anyway, outside of the main set, we are then using Reliquin on the body. You can use the normal one instead of the perfected one if you prefer. You're not going to see a difference. There's 1,096 stamina difference. That is all. No people in content are going to see the major gap between those two. So get the regular one on normal Cloud Rest and you're done. If you want to go perfected, entirely up to you, especially if you've got access to it. But if not, the normal one is fine. This actually requires you to play your build properly. So the Nightblade skills that we've got, the Merciless Resolve, requires you to light attack or heavy attack. The Siphon and Strikes that we've got doesn't require you to light and heavy anymore, but it does require you to do damage. So just consider your lights and heavies as contributors as well. If you maintain those lights, your skills will function as they should. Your Hawkeye passive from your bow will still function as it should. Your glyphs will fire as they should. And as long as you're doing all of that, this will continuously fire. Reliquin needs to be practiced in order for you to maintain the stacks. If you fail a light or heavy for 5 seconds, you will lose all the stacks and you'll lose all of your DPS you just built up. So this builds up to 10, then maintains. That's the trick. Don't let your light attacks fall off. 2 choices. Practice it and get good at it. And consider that in mechanics where you have to run backwards or get out of the way, you might want to use your bow to keep up the stacks. Or if you can't get to grips with it, you just can't use it. Instead of using these sets as one or the other, stack 2 of them together. Just put Venomous on the body. You'll be absolutely fine. Anyway, this is all over the body. Divines and Stamina on all. And then we've got a monster set that does require vet content. So all of this can be acquired on normal or overland, but this needs to be on vet. Just for the helmet, not the shoulders, the helmet. This here, if you are doing everything correctly and you are firing off your light attacks, then this, after 5 light attacks, will actually pull out a big fist under the ground and punch the enemy in the face. This hits very, very hard and quite close to that of Scavenge and Demise. In fact, a little bit less. But it fires more often. If you can't get this and you're struggling right now from Unhallowed Grave, which is where this set comes from as well, so you can do 1 run and get a full set of that and a monster helmet, if you're lucky. But you can swap this out. For something for ease of use, get Selene. Selene will fire just by doing direct martial damage anyway, so it's a no-brainer. You can't fail it. As long as you are hitting the enemy, this will fire. So ease of use, use Selene's. More advanced, use Yalnaz, or however the fuck you pronounce that. Reliquin on normal. If you can't get it, then use Venomous on the body. And we are also using the Master's Bow. You do not need Perfected. Perfected will give you weapon and spell damage on the back bar only. If you have non-perfected, you just don't get that buff. The actual weapon and spell damage increase to damage on the target that has poison injection on them will apply no matter which version you've got. You need this to be infused, you need weapon and spell damage on the glyph, and your volley will constantly fire the glyph. If you put poison injection on the target, this will have more damage done to it. Do not let your poison injection run out. So to recap, 2 daggers, 3 jewelry, all bloodthirsty with weapon and spell damage. The set can be Aegis Caller or Scavenge and Demise, or if you really fancy, you can go old school and put Venomous Smite on, which is really, really helpful. Then, on the body, you want Reliquin. If you can't use Reliquin, there's nothing wrong with that. Just put on something else, i.e. Venomous Smite, or you could even take advantage of Dead Waters if you're in a fight where there's lots and lots of enemies dying really, really fast, because then you've got an unlimited ultimate. Then on the helmet, you've got this, unless, of course, you can't use it very well or can't access it, in which case you get Selene's. There's lots of different options there, but basically you play the build exactly the same no matter what. Now champion points. These are quite easy, actually. So, slottables are important. You want Wrathful Strikes, Deadly Aim for single target stuff, and Master at Arms for direct damage stuff, which is basically everything we're doing apart from like 1 dot, which is volley, and well, poison injection is a dot, but it does apply an initial hit. So there's only 1 skill that is nothing but damage over time. Then, you want to make sure you get all these slottable blue buffs first, but obviously you want to get these white or yellowy passives as soon as you can as well, because they do contribute to your overall stats or stat damage. including these for protection. Make sure you get these eventually. You are going to need them, otherwise you're squishy. But again, the blue startables, you want to aim for them as quickly as you possibly can. Easiest way to unlock these 2 trees is to get this crit bonus first, and then start stacking 10 points into here, and they're all open for you. Red tree, really simple. Boundless Vitality for health, Fortified for armor, Rejuvenation for recovery, and then of course, Bloody Renewal for stand back for getting kills. Bear in mind, if you unlock this, and then 10 in here, and then move over to this health bonus, that will unlock this. Green tree. If you are out of combat, you move faster with this buff here. Not in combat, only out of combat. This will give you a chance to not even consume a potion, but you still get the benefits of it. This will extend the duration on your food, and this will give you higher quality loot from chests. These are not set in stone. You can use whichever ones you want because this is not based solely on combat. This is just quality of life. So, how do you use it? We're going to have to go over rotations, aren't we? This is quite simple because now we can see procs and stuff without giving out spoilers. So, your banner should be active at all times. It's quite simple. You should see a banner. And if the visual is not showing, because sometimes it bugs out, then of course this big circle of shininess should be around your character. Now, you need your beast trap underneath your target at all times. So you can start with that. Then swap to the back bar and fire your volley. Once that is active, you want to then light attack poison injection, light attack pet, swap bars. Yes, you will be light attack skill throughout. There is a video on my channel and in the description regarding lights and heavy attacks in order to teach you how to get the perfect rhythm for lights and heavies so that your animation cancelling or light weaving is perfect. You will get there, don't worry. So to recap, beast trap, swap bars, light attack volley, light attack poison injection, light attack pet, swap bars. That's what you need to do to start with. Once you're on the front, if the bow isn't already active, this here, light attack fire, you need to do this. Light attack surprise attack, over and over until your bow is ready. When it is, fire it. And then repeat. And when it's ready, fire it again. However, while doing so, you need to maintain awareness of your back bar stuff. So it's not just a case of spam, 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 bow, spam, 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 bow, which technically it is. It's a case of doing that while tracking the rest. So if your beast trap is starting to run out, obviously you need to reapply it. If your volley or poison injection or pet are running out, you need to reapply those. And these are the ways to do that. So while we're already in a fight, you want to swap bars. You don't just raw bar swap with nothing, because nothing's done in between. There's a global cooldown there. So, for example, you want to do some damage. So light attack, beast trap, swap bars. That will allow some damage to happen, a skill to reapply itself, and for you to smoothly swap to the back bar without losing any time. Light attack volley, light attack poison injection, light attack pet. Now let's just imagine we've got this up and running, and we're going to do this way. So I'm firing, light attack, light attack, light attack. Look at the bars and look at the yellow timers on them. You can see that they are starting to run low. Volley's almost ready. Light, beast trap, swap, light, volley. Light poison injection, swap back. The reason I did that is because it was almost ready. Now the pet is almost ready. Light, swap, pet, swap. Now in between then, I use a surprise attack and swap. Light, pet, swap. Always use a skill to bar swap with. Don't just raw swap. You need something that is insta-cast. Even if it's your bow, you can light, bow, swap. Light, volley, swap. Light, beast trap, swap. Light, poison injection, swap. Always use a light attack, a skill, and then a swap. The only one you can't do that with is your ultimate. This is what I mentioned earlier. If you fire your ultimate and you want to get to the front bar quickly so you can start doing the most of your damage on the front while the buff is active, you get stuck because it's got a 0.4 second timer. You can't actively bar swap it because you're in the middle of a global cooldown. So the trick is to light attack, fire the ultimate, light attack, fire off your Siphon and Strikes, and then swap bars. Or any other skill that is ready. That way, you fill the time, and you don't just stand there doing this. Which, by the way, is nothing for those at the back. So the trick to this, let's say for argument's sake, Beast Trap is about to run out, and I need to use my ultimate. Light, Beast Trap, swap, light ulti, like that, and then swap bars again. And then just carry on as normal. You fill it up. So, to recap, because that is going to be a little bit confusing to those at the back. Beast Trap, swap, volley, light poison, light pet, swap bars. Light surprise attack, light bow if you've got it. Light surprise, light surprise, light surprise. Keep going until the bow is ready. Fire again. My bar's about to swap because volley's going to run out. Swap, volley, light poison, swap. Back again, carry on. Beast Trap's about to run out, so is my pet. Light, Beast Trap, swap. Light, pet, swap back again. Carry on, and on, and on. And then bow. Surprise attack, swap, volley. My ultimate is ready, so fire. Use some of that. Back to it. And as long as you do that, the bar swaps can be quite fluid, and you can maintain all of those buffs and bonuses indefinitely, and you will be doing the most amount of DPS you can during that particular situation. However, if you would like to keep things simple, you will get slightly less DPS, but you will perform incredibly well. You can keep this as static as fuck. And that is a way to maintain all of your buffs and bonuses at the same time as keeping up your dots and buffs. Not buffs, but pets and procs that are coming out from your sets and such. So, Beast Trap, volley, poison injection, pet, swap. Same applies. Bow, 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bow, swap, volley, poison injection, swap again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bow, Beast Trap, swap, volley, pet. Did you see that? 5 surprise attacks and a bow, swap to volley and poison injection. 5 surprise attacks and a bow, Beast Trap, swap, volley, and pet. That will be on the website, so it makes more sense if you want to make it more static. And then you just try and squeeze in your ultimate with light attack strikes as and when you can. You need to maintain them as 2 separate rotations. So technically it's 1 rotation with 5 hits and a bow, but if you want to take advantage of all the stuff you've got in the back and not stay there for ages going like this and this and this and this, and you're there for fucking ever, you can split it up. Now that will be on the website written down so you can practice it, but basically if you get it right and your animation cancelling for your light attack versus skills are correct and you've got to grips with the ultimate, this can become a very, very smooth rotation and you have full control of your DPS. If you start slowing down, obviously that will fluctuate quite considerably, but practice will make perfect on that one. Don't worry about that dummy too much because it's got loads of buffs and bonuses that do or don't apply depending on the situation that you're in, because let's face it, not every group has those buffs. No one ever has those on exactly the same timers. And there's at least 20 buffs, bonuses, synergies, and set procs that can't actually fire on that dummy and definitely are not present right now. But if you get really good at the build, you're looking at about 115k on the dummy based on the fact that that doesn't count for actual content. Yes, of course, you can push to like 130 or so on that dummy, but to do so, you're going to manipulate the build completely to make it useless for content. This works as it is. Now, time for fashion. We are wearing the Breton Hat 3, so the light one. The Trinomac Jerkin, so the light chest. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one. Done it once on live stream. I'm done now. The Dwemer-ish shoulders, the light ones. Dramathra hands, belt, and feet, all in light. And then Thieves Guild greaves, so heavy Thieves Guild combat pants. Alongside Abnothan daggers, because they look absolutely mega. And then the also awkwardly to pronounce Dwemer-ish bow, because it matches the shoulders. Looks mega. So overall, everything is black. How cool is he? Right, people, hopefully that helped. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. For those already using Sting, you'll be pleasantly surprised that this is now easier to use and more impactful. For those that have never seen it before, enjoy. And of course, if you are not subscribing already, hit the button. It is free, and there's loads of links below for socials and not so social stuff where you can help support the channel. Thank you very much indeed again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.